I am walking up Broad Street, exactly where, and on the street that was always known as Broad Street, back on April 30th, 1789, colonial New Yorkers would have walked this same route to assemble at noon at Federal Hall, which is now Federal Hall, what was then the new capital of the United States, when on April 30th, 1789, George Washington would be sworn in to become the very first president of the United States. So take yourself back over 200 years that you might have been standing in this very same spot on that most historic day in American history. April 30th, 1789 at 12 noon. This inscription, this worn subscription, this very worn inscription on the front of the building makes the same statement. On this site, now Federal Hall, on April 30th, 1789, George Washington took the oath as the first president of the United States of America. George Washington is the only president ever to be inaugurated at this spot. Soon afterward, the capital moved out of New York City, first temporarily to Philadelphia, and then to the now permanent capital of the United States, Washington, D.C. Following the ceremony that day, Washington and others left the new Capitol building and proceeded up to, not Trinity Church, but further north to St. Paul's Chapel, the same St. Paul's Chapel that exists today. You're now entering St. Paul's Chapel. We are entering from the Broadway side, but back then the main entrance was on the side facing what is today the World Trade Center. This is the altar area, just as it was back then. Let us go to the very spot that George Washington went to that day, and where he went other Sundays while presiding, a special pew that was for his use and is preserved to this day. Now we are at the actual entrance that would have been used back in 1789, the actual main entrance. There's also a graveyard then and now with St. Paul's Chapel on this, which would have been the entranceway back then, not on Broadway where we entered. So now you are seeing how Washington and other worshipers would have approached St. Paul's Chapel back in the 1700s. Finally, we're in front of the address 39 Broadway. Not this building, but in a previous mansion that is long gone, is where George Washington lived, not when he was inaugurated. This plaque commemorates the site and states that Washington lived here from February 23rd to August 30th, 1790. So in fact, it was in the second year of the capital of the United States being in New York City that he lived here.